Hello friends, this is Odds, that's the goal at least, and today we're going to talk about meta perks, the most effective tactic available. What are the best perks in the game? What were they and what they will be from now on, now that we have a patch that has changed almost everything. This is very important information if you're going to play Survivor. You need to understand which perks will help you escape, and also pretty critical if you're going to play Killer. You need to understand what you'll be going up against in a few weeks when people learn new meta. So let's first talk about the previous meta. If I had to give a list of 4 perks that every Survivor had to run, the old meta, in my opinion, was very clearly Dead Hard, Decisive, Unbreakable, and Borrow Time. With Dead Hard, you have an amazing chase perk that used to be really strong. It countered the top tier killers better than any other exhaustion perk. It counters some of the bottom tier killers extremely well, like being able to iframe through traps, which was ridiculous. And if you use Dead Hard well, on average, you're going to extend every chase 10-20 seconds, and that's a lot of time for your teammates to do gens, which by the way were shorter in the previous update. If by any chance you end up on the hook and you get unhooked, the next perk, Decisive Strike, would protect you. If a killer picked you up 60 seconds after being unhooked, you would give them a 5-second stun, which was very critical. At that point, if it's endgame, you're out of the doors and it's a free escape. And if it's not endgame, you are buying a lot of time for your team to do gens. Sometimes a killer would want to avoid Decisive and outwait its timer, and they would leave you be on the ground. And if you had the next perk, Unbreakable, that also protected you because you could just pick yourself up, no help needed. And this perk was also great insurance against people being left on the ground by the killer. If multiple people were down, the last person didn't even have to do anything. Just take the killer far away and then all of them will pick themselves up with Unbreakable. And Borrow Time, obviously, back then was not base kit. So if you had this perk, you can unhook people with the safety and the knowledge that that person's not going to go down for the next couple seconds. So all of this was great, and one really disgusting thing about these perks is that they all produce a passive sort of deterrent on the killer's mind. The killer cannot immediately hit and injure survivors because they're afraid of Dead Hard, even if it's not there. The killer cannot just tunnel a person off the hook and go for them straight away because they might eat a Decisive, even if it's not there. The killer will be scared to leave multiple people on the hook, on the ground, even if it's a good idea, because there could be Unbreakable. And also, obviously, the killer will not hit you off the hook right away because he could be facing Borrow Time. So all of these perks, even if they weren't there, scared the killers into playing differently and playing less optimally. For that reason, a smart team would realize that they don't actually need all of these perks. They don't need to have 3 or 4 Borrow Times. They can have 1 or 2 or 3 and then cycle their playstyle and have each person be where they're needed. And these gaps could be filled with team perks. Team perks like Prove Thyself to do gens together faster, Deliverance to unhook yourself and drop pressure from the killer, Circle of Healing to let everyone else heal faster and heal yourself. No need to explain that. And Kindred if you're playing solo, especially to show the aura of the killer and help everyone coordinate. People would also sometimes pick more selfish perks to protect themselves, which was also totally fine. Spine Chill to counter stealth killers, Windows Opportunity to always know where pallets are available and never run to a dead zone. Iron Will, a really strong chase perk that used to make you completely silent when injured, particularly effective against some meta killers as well. And Adrenaline and perks like it just to give you an extra boost in endgame. So that used to be the old meta. But we don't have these perks quite anymore. Dead Hard is now a much harder to use, way less universal exhaustion perk. Decisive only lasts 3 seconds and it completely disables in endgame. And as such, the killer doesn't need to wait. If the killer doesn't need to wait, they're not as likely to leave you on the ground, so Unbreakable is now less of a combo with Decisive. And Borrow Time is now partially base kit, so people don't need this perk as much. So, what is the new meta? The new meta, in my opinion, is picking the best exhaustion perk, which will obviously be up to you on your preferences. In my opinion, perhaps the strongest right now is Sprint Burst, and then an anti-tunneling perk, which for yourself is perfectly fine as Off the Record. Off the Record is basically a Borrow Time for yourself when you get unhooked. It works twice per game. It doesn't work in endgame, but while it is working, your aura is not shown to the killer. You have built-in Iron Will, which is really strong, and better of all, you also have an 80-second Borrow Time style endurance effect. This is insane. In my opinion, the meta is these 2 combos: protection from being tunneled and protection from short chases in the form of a exhaustion perk. Now for you, your best exhaustion perk might be Slithe, might be Overcome, might be Balance, but fill the gap with whatever you need. And the other 2 perks, in my opinion, now more than before, need to be team perks. perks to help your team, and also some consideration for the endgame. Let's talk about team perks. A circle of healing, still very, very strong, provides a hub for everyone to converge to, heal each other, heal themselves, be self-sufficient. A pretty good investment of time as well. Prove thyself, even more necessary than before, if you ask me. It is very, very easy for killers to tunnel and try to kill people off early, and fighting for that final gen can be really, really difficult. With Prove Thyself, the final gens get done much quicker, and the early gens, if the killer's not paying too much attention, can feel almost as short as before, which is very, very big. So one or two Prove Thyself on a team is a pretty good idea. The extra blood points that you get from Prove Thyself are now even more useful because of the higher cap as well. Distortion, a great perk, protects you from lethal, which is now more popular, barbecue, and all other auto-reading perks and add-ons, and then you can tell about them to your team. Good survivors on a team using Distortion can call out and identify the killer's perks, which is super, super useful. Deliverance and other style of perks that help other teammates are also really, really good as well. And then we talk about the endgame perks. In endgame, before, decisive and other perks like borrowed time used to basically give free escapes. If survivors unhooked you and you had decisive, you were basically out. That's no longer the case. Getting a person rescued in the endgame is very risky, and there's a lot to lose, not much to gain if you don't have any perks. That's where these come in. Adrenaline, in my opinion, is perhaps the easiest to use and one of the most powerful. If you are being chased at the endgame, you get a health state and a speed boost, which is huge. It gives everyone else time to open gates. If you are already on the hook and you come out, you now come out full health, which means the killer cannot just wait 5 seconds to hit you. Super, super huge. It also means that if you're healthy, you can go and take a hit for someone else and completely change how the endgame plays out for the killer. I think adrenaline will be huge, and you'll see a return of it. Borrowed time is kind of useless if everyone is running off the record. Why would you give someone 10 seconds of speed and 10 seconds of extra protection when they have 80 seconds of protection? Well, it's because borrowed time works in endgame and off the record doesn't. Having 1 or 2 people with borrowed time is great for endgame. It guarantees that someone can be rescued, and for those 10 extra seconds, they move faster and they can get hit. And this will catch off guard killers that are trying to be sneaky. They will see when an unhook happens and they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds and then try to hit the person. If you have borrowed time, you counter that immediately, and it can give you free escapes at the end game. Another similar perk that's also pretty good is No One Left Behind. Now when all the gems are done, this perk triggers, unlike before, and then you see everyone else, which is awesome. You get extra points, which is helpful, and you unhook faster and heal others faster so that they can all be healthy, and you'll see there are obviously, and they can all help for an unhook. This perk is amazing to secure 4-man escapes when you don't have a cannibal or something like that camping. And for the people, is also really, really useful. In endgame scenarios, you can pick people up from the ground or fully heal them if you think that they are the ones more vulnerable. And you can pair this with Soul Guard on the other person so that they have endurance when they get picked up, or use it with We're Gonna Live Forever, which is a new rework perk from David that also gives survivors that you pick up with or without further people 10 seconds of endurance, which is huge. So this can be really, really clutch in endgame. Let's have a look at some examples of what these builds can look like. So for example, we have a person with a medkit, which will be able to heal themselves at any time necessary, which is awesome. And that means that they will be healthy and be able to go for a rescue. They'll have borrowed time, so in endgame or early game, the person that they rescue will be extra protected, which is awesome. And then if they get tunneled, they have quite a bit going on. If they get rescued, they'll have off the record, so they'll be able to tank 1 hit. If they go down to that, they'll still have decisive, which is not as powerful as before, but still, that decisive will remove the health state. So you will, even though you triggered mending and deep wound from off the record hit, when you hit the killer with decisive, you will no longer have it because you went down. And then you can use that hard in your first stage, or even then to extend the chase even further. So you could be chased, hit, survive, hit, go down, decisive, and then have that hard to use smart at loops to keep you going. Very, very strong. This one is a bit more team oriented. We will use Life, which is a nice exhaustion perk that we particularly like. We will have off the record, again, to protect ourselves. And because we're playing solo or because we want to help our teammates, we have Kindred to make sure that everyone knows where each other are and they can coordinate. And we're also going to further help them by using Circle of Healing. We set it up somewhere nice, maybe on some elevator area where the killer can get to us, and we can always be healthy, and with Kindred, we'll always know what everyone else is doing. Very simple build. This one is more gen oriented. We have Sprint Burst. We're going to try to be doing gens. We will even go to gens on the open that we know are not safe because we have Sprint Burst and windows of opportunity to know where to run if the killer comes. Again, if we get tunneled, we got off the record. And if our teammates find us, which would be awesome, we approve thyself to do gens even quicker. Maybe we'll bring a little toolbox to make that first gen or two a little bit faster and surpass that initial barrier. That is, in my opinion, what the meta is going to look like. Strong items for survivors to make up for the longer gens, to make up for some of the slowdown perks that will be prevalent on the killer side. Perks to protect yourself, exhaustion perks still on most builds. And then the smart teams that want to make every person count and every person escape will use team perks and endgame unhook perks to guarantee the fourth man escape. That's what I expect, but you're more than free to disagree. Maybe there's like one perk that is so strong that you think I should have mentioned. I would love to hear about that. And if you want to know what the meta will look like for killer, even though it's a bit different because all of them have different build requirements and needs, I would love to make a video about that too. So if you're interested, let me know and I'll make a similar video for killer. Thank you so much for watching, and please do let me know your thoughts. I want to learn everything I can about this patch so we can teach new players and hopefully they can have fun.